Now let's talk about how ordering and scene inheritance, or sorry, not scene inheritance, how the ordering works in for the 2D system in Godot. I've already talked about this a little bit, but I'm just going to go a little deeper into it. So if we create a new sprite, then let's call this ship, and we can grab this red ship here as the texture. So now if I zoom in, you can see I have this UFO and this ship. Let's pretend that we want the UFO to kind of capture the ship. So that means we want the ship below the UFO. And if you notice, I dragged that ship above the UFO to actually put it below. This is because Godot processes nodes sequentially. So first it'll process main, then ship, then UFO. So when it processes a node, if there's a graphical element to it, like a sprite, it's going to draw that. So you can kind of think of it like a painting. So first it's going to draw the ship, and then it's going to paint the UFO over it. So it overlaps it. So that's kind of how it works, and that's why this is how layering is a little counterintuitive compared to like Photoshop, where layers on top are rendered on top. This is the opposite. So what if we want the ship to be constrained to the UFO? So we can drag that like that, and now if we play and we move our mouse around, you can see that the ship is now inheriting the transform position of the UFO. So it's like the UFO captured the ship, but right now it looks like the ship captured the UFO. We don't want that. So what do we do? Because it needs to be a child, but we also want it to be on bottom. So how do we fix this issue? Well, there's a couple options. First of all, you can set the Z index to something lower than the parent. So right now the parent, the UFO, the Z index is at 0. So if we set the ship to something like -1, it'll render it below it. Now, this is fine, but it is a little more taxing on your system. Not much. If you have a small game, it's not going to be an issue at all. But it is very slightly more taxing because it has to go back and re-render that sprite underneath it instead of doing it sequentially as if it were a tree. Your other option is to go under visibility and just check this box, show behind parent. So that option is literally to solve this problem. So if we press play, as you can see, it's still below it. And then the final thing you can do is you can actually drag the ship out, so that way it renders below it organically. So see, let's grab the ship and let's turn off the show behind parent. So now, as you can see, right now it's above it because it's below it. But if we want it to be more organically done, to have it look like the UFO has captured the ship, then we can click on UFO and add a node. We can add a remote transform 2D, which this just pushes its own 2D transform to another canvas item. So if we add that, then we can assign the ship to inherit, remote transform all of the properties. So this is all of the transform properties. So position, rotation, and scale. So now, and also if you want it to be a little offset, you can still do that. You can make it offset and it'll still constrain those positions. So if we press play, as you can see, those positions are still constrained to the UFO, and now it's organically rendered, which could save you some performance. But again, not a big issue if you're working with a small game.